Yo, welcome back to another video. It's your boy Corey, the man. We're back in it, y'all. Let's see, what is this? Okay, that makes sense. Scroll above. No, we'll just leave that off. Anyways, we're ready to get right into this video, guys. You already know Power Rangers, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. That's my favorite movie of all time. There's no beating it. So anytime I get a chance to learn at least a little bit something new about this movie, it's always great. I know the movie, but I don't really know like Easter eggs and all that other stuff. I'm hurt. I know they said this movie doesn't really tie into the show in any way. It's just like everything's different. I know there's some stuff in the show that you can look at and be like, it's kind of you want to try to link it up, but yeah, there's no really anything to link up. Anyways, let's get right into it. Let's see what they got.
What's poppin', Power Rangers? It's me, MT, and welcome back to the Heavy Spoiler Show, y'all. This is it, people. We've finally done it. We've finally gotten around to breaking down the greatest cinematic achievement of the 1990s, the 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. A movie that absolutely oozes with greatness. So buckle up, y'all, because it's finally Morphin time. But hey, y'all already know the deal. Leaving a like or subscribing to the channel is a great way to support us. But for just 99 cents a month, you all can become a member of the channel and get early access to all of our videos before everybody else. It is a steal of a deal, but it is not necessary. We're just glad that you guys took the time to watch our videos. But anyways, the 1995 Power Rangers movie would be Brian Spicer's directorial debut. On a budget of $15 million, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie would earn $17 million in just its first weekend alone, eventually grossing a whopping $66.4 million globally, with 20th Century Fox and Saban Entertainment very much making a profit off of the Power Rangers hype that was sweeping around the world at that time. The first two seasons of Power Rangers quickly elevated all of these young actors into major celebrity status, as every single child and every parent of every single child had these teenagers with attitude on their radar. And not long after the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers started generating massive hype with their initial two seasons, talks of making a Power Rangers movie started buzzing between Saban Entertainment and 20th Century Fox. And in its early phases, the original 5 Power Rangers actors were all originally supposed to reprise their roles for this transition to the big screen. However, as many Power Rangers fans would be disappointed to find out, Saban would lose Red Ranger actor Austin St. John, Yellow Ranger actor Tui Trang, and Black Ranger actor Walter Jones after they all tried to negotiate contracts that reflected their worth, which is a major bummer. Their characters would be written off of the show halfway through the second season and be replaced by actors Stephen Cardenas as the Red Ranger, Karen Ashley as the Yellow Ranger, and Johnny Young Bosch as the Black Ranger. But anyways, while this movie does include all the main cast from the TV show, what a lot of casual enjoyers of this movie don't really realize is that this 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie is not canon to the TV series whatsoever, as a good number of elements from the TV series have changed or are completely absent in this movie universe. For example, every kid who loved the original series knew of Rita Repulsa's bumbling right-hand monsters, Squat, Babu, and Finster, right? Those three, along with Goldar, were pretty much the only comrades that Rita Repulsa had. So like, where they at though? And who the hell is this stupid ass pig that is acting like he's been oinking along with Rita, Zed, and Goldar this entire time? It's continuity differences like that, Zordon's command center, and even the names that the Power Rangers call themselves that make it very clear that this is a separate universe all of its own, technically making this movie universe the third Mighty Morphin Power Rangers universe that would form at that time. And this is a big technically because in addition to the TV show and movie universes, the very first pilot episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers featured all the same young actors playing the Power Rangers, with the exception of Trini the Yellow Ranger, who was played by actress Audrey Dubois, before Tui Trang would ultimately be cast in the role. And in that pilot universe, Zordon's name was actually Zoltar, the Power Morphers were called the Transmorphers, and the Megazord was called the Mega Dino Droid, which is super weird. Also, there's a moment where all the kids transform into dinosaurs Animorph style, and it's frankly the stuff of nightmares. But anyways, after the movie starts with an opening crawl of text with an outer space
George.
backdrop as a clear tribute to the Star Wars original trilogy, the movie begins with the Power Rangers going on a skydive above Angel Grove alongside their favorite frenemies, Bulk and Skull. Bulk has a big old letter B on his jacket for his name next to a police badge, pointing to his eventual role as an Angel Grove Junior Police Force cadet, and Skull, very fittingly, has a black scarf with a bunch of skulls on it. And after the 5 Rangers jump off of the plane and descend onto Angel Grove to a rendition of Higher Ground by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the following skydiving scene is of course a mixture of actual skydiving footage from stunt actors with footage of the Ranger actors on a set hopping out of a fake plane and dangling in front of a green screen, because teenagers should not be jumping off of planes in real life. And while this fictional city of Angel Grove itself resides in America, the filming of this movie actually took place in Sydney, Australia this time around. As the city of Angel Grove celebrates their Jumpathon, banners for the Angel Grove Fire, Police, and Sanitation departments can be seen, with a giant banner promoting the preservation of a local observatory can also be seen front and center, with Ryan's Comet being the main focus of everyone's interest. Ryan's Comet would of course come into play by the end of the film as the means for which Ivan Ooze would be destroyed. But anyways, after we watch the Power Rangers skate to Free Ride by Dan Hartman, Bulk and Skull conveniently land at a nearby construction site at the exact time the construction workers there discover Ivan Ooze's hyperlock prison, leading those rollerblading Power Rangers to get summoned back to Zordon's command center for a briefing on all things Ivan Ooze. And like I alluded to before, the command center in this movie is drastically different than the one that we see in the show, and that's of course in large part due to the movie's drastically superior budget. And one of the most notable differences between this command center and the TV show's command center is Zordon's tube, a tube that drastically changes a key character detail of Zordon's from the TV show. A little later in the movie, after Ivan Ooze breaks into the command center to attack Zordon in Alpha 5, we learn that the Zordon of this movie universe was just a pale old alien man sleeping inside of this tube on an uncomfortable ass bed of jagged crystals, with the destruction of this tube causing Zordon to rapidly age and start to die. In the actual TV show, Zordon is just a being of pure energy that the command center itself channels into this physical plane of existence after Rita decided to lock Zordon out of time itself. And when Zordon's tube was destroyed by Andros in Power Rangers in Space a few years after this movie came out, there was no pale little man inside of that tube, but instead a massive wave of good light energy called a Z-wave was released at the time of that tube's destruction, with that Z-wave literally being Zordon's entire essence. So it's quite clear that those involved with making this film weren't all that invested in sticking to canon. Also, we've got to talk about Alpha 5, who has a slightly altered costume compared to how they appear in the TV show. And it's a costume that created a lot of suffering for in-suit actor Peta Marie Rickson, who literally could not breathe when she had that big-ass robot helmet on. They had to make a special fish tank pump apparatus to get air into the suit so that she didn't die in the dark. She was literally cut off from the world, not being able to see or hear anything, which is kind of a wild experience for someone acting in a Hollywood film. And during this debriefing by Zordon, we can also notice that Tommy is rocking a yin-yang necklace, which I thought was a really nice costume design choice indicative of Tommy's own mastery of inner balance after his journey from the dark Green Ranger to the light defending White Ranger. And we can also see that Billy is not rocking his trademark glasses that he wore all throughout his first season. David Yost hated wearing those fake glasses that entire time because constantly wearing those glasses was starting to really mess with his eyesight. So Saban agreed to give Billy some contacts to help David out, which was pretty nice of them. But anyways, in the following scene, we of course see Lord Zed and Rita free Ivan Ooze from his big egg-ass prison, with Ivan Ooze being played by actor Paul Freeman. And Zed is of course accompanied by his main girl, Rita Repulsa, who is played by Australian actress Julia Cortez this time around, instead of bringing in Carla Perez, who portrayed Rita in the TV show. Alongside this new Rita, we have a new warthog monster
I heard there
sidekick
were
named Mordant,
multiple versions
replacing
of Rita
Babu, Finster, and
in the
Squat like I
shows
mentioned
and
before, which
movies.
is super random, but luckily we still have Goldar as a familiar face. But anyways,
Like
after
the
Zed's
original
gang
Rita.
leaves
Mm-hmm.
and Zordon's gang arrives and meets Ivan Ooze for the first time, Ivan creates an army of Ooze men to fight Zordon's teenagers with attitude, with the term Ooze men not being used once in this movie, but would instead be revealed as the name of these monsters within the Sega Genesis video game adaptation of this very movie. But after the Rangers become overwhelmed by Ivan's forces, they realize that it is indeed Morphin time, leading the gang to morph in a completely new order than they consistently do in the television series. Rather than going pink, blue, red, black, yellow, then white like they do in the movie, the show would oftentimes go white, black, pink, blue, yellow, then red. The Power Rangers would also whip out some newly designed morphers for this movie as well, with the color of these new morphers corresponding to the color of their respective Rangers, whereas the TV morphers appeared a lot more uniform. Another big difference in this first morph is what Tommy calls himself, as he yells White Tiger instead of Tiger Zord like he does in the show. And we of course are given our first look into the newly designed suits for the movie, suits with a lot more armor on the outside than the significantly more exposed spandex that the stunt actors had to wear on the show. The suits actually weighed 40 pounds, which caused significant back strain on the Power Rangers actors, in particular, Yellow Ranger actress Karen Ashley and Pink Ranger Amy Jo Johnson. But anyways, the scene then transitions to Ivan Ooze's destruction of the command center, with Ivan Ooze mentioning that he's missed the Black Plague of the Middle Ages, the Spanish Inquisition, and the Brady Bunch reunion, as he shoots electricity out of his body, completely wrecking everything, with that last part about the Brady Bunch reunion having been completely improvised by Paul Freeman. But speaking of electricity, someone on set almost got electrocuted to death during the production of this movie, but luckily they got to the hospital on time, which is great because imagine dying during the production of a Power Rangers movie. That's a pretty not great way to go. But anyways, after this, the scene transitions back to the Rangers hunting down the Ooze men, with Aisha whipping out her new Power Beam helmet to help the Rangers see in the dark, and Rocky flexing his new Power Scope scanner to find traces of their prey. Because let's face it, action figures were not going to sell themselves, now were they? And the Blue Ranger Billy almost got himself a fun little rotating audio enhancer installed into his helmet that would have helped him detect sounds from his enemies or victims in trouble, but the production decided against that addition for Billy. There is actually a deleted scene where Zordon would have formally introduced all of these upgrades to the Rangers before they headed out, but they cut that scene for some reason, probably because they barely use these new enhancements at all beyond this. And in the battle that follows, we can see that other Rangers also have special new weapons made specifically for this movie, as Billy would whip out his handy-dandy new Stega Stinger, and Kim would test out her new Pterodactyl Thunder Whip. And Kim's Thunder Whip was actually originally called the Raptor Ribbon in an earlier version of the movie before someone realized that that sounded really freaking stupid. But anyways, after the Power Rangers dispose of the Ooze men, they head back to the trashed command center and find an old British man taking a nappy where Zordon's big-ass head once floated. Having Zordon randomly adopt a British accent after having his tube cracked open was definitely a choice, because Zordon never had a British accent. Like, where did this come from? After the Power Rangers are sent to the planet Phaedos, the scene transitions to Lord Zed's throne room, where Ivan Ooze traps Zed and Rita in a snow globe and takes over their evil operation. This entire throne room that they created was actually primarily just aluminum foil wrapped around some throne room shaped wooden frames. And this scene of course ends with Ivan Ooze creating his bird-like Tengu warriors to go after the Power Rangers on Phaedos, with director Brian Spicer purposely taking inspiration from the Wizard of Oz film as the Tengu fly off, as it seems like a clear allusion to when the monkeys are released by the Wicked Witch in that movie. And when the Power Rangers first arrive on this strange new planet, they come across the skeleton of an alien that looks a lot like some type of demon creature with a communication headset on, with this specific alien species remaining a pure mystery. But whoever they were, I really dig their design, and I kinda wish we got to see who these aliens were in relation to Phaedos and the war that preceded the destruction of Phaedos. Then, when the Tengu finally arrive and begin their assault on the Power Rangers, one of the Tengu picks Kimberly up and flies around with her, leading Kimberly to tell Big Bird to let her down, which is of course a reference to Big Bird from Sesame Street. And while this may be a little bit hard to believe considering the youthful and ridiculous nature of this movie, the initial confrontation with these Tengu creatures was actually supposed to be a lot more gruesome than what we actually got in the movie apparently, as the original script had the Tengu kind of really messing the Rangers up and making them bleed. Kimberly was supposed to have her back all scratched up, Adam was supposed to get a nasty cut on his hand from one of the Tengu's beaks, and Tommy was supposed to get himself some pretty significant scrapes as well. But because the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV series as a whole was becoming popular enough for all of those buzzkill parents to start complaining about their kids being exposed to violence rather than, monitoring what their children watch like good parents, the producers decided that the youths were not ready to see their beloved Rangers endure such injuries. And while the Power Rangers of course have to fight Ivan's Tengu bird army in this movie, that wasn't the original idea. In a much more fitting move in line with Ivan's disgusting characterization, the Rangers were initially supposed to fight an army of rat ooze monsters instead. They actually made these rat monster suits and everything before they decided to go with those oozy ass birds. But they would end up using those rat monster suits in the actual Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV show later on. But luckily for the Rangers, they are quickly saved by Dulcea, who agrees to help them as soon as she hears that they were chosen by their mutual friend Zordon. The character Dulcea actually had a much more fleshed out story at one point in production, with Dulcea initially having been revealed as the last remaining member of an ancient group of warrior youths much like the Power Rangers that were responsible for Ivan's 6,000-year imprisonment, and that she was the planet Phaedos' only remaining survivor after a brutal planet-wide attack by a race of aliens called the Nathadians wiped out her people. But while we're on the subject of Dulcea, did you guys know that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers almost recruited the services of New York's finest detective? Because in the criminal justice system, oozed-based offenses are especially heinous. This movie's production just had to call on Mariska Hargitay to fill in for the role of Dulcea after actress Gabriella Fitzpatrick discovered that she had an ovarian cyst that she desperately needed treatment for. Hargitay actually filmed for a good number of weeks as Dulcea, but the producers weren't really feeling her in that role. So when those producers heard that Fitzpatrick was all good to go again after her procedure, they did Hargitay kinda dirty by firing her a little bit after Christmas while she was on break visiting her family. But one of the deleted elements that was filmed during Hargitay's time as Dulcea was an entire character named Snoggle, who was intended to serve as Dulcea's little snouted alien pet that only she could communicate with. But after Hargitay was let go, the production decided that Snoggle's role as an annoying comic relief character was inconsequential to the flow of the movie, so he ultimately got axed. And another element from Hargitay's time as Dulcea that got cut was a whole ass 12-minute sequence where the Power Rangers slept over at Dulcea's place and trained with her before heading out towards the monolith. And hey, if you guys are hungry for even more fun facts, a future Power Ranger was almost cast as Dulcea for this movie. After Amy Jo Johnson would eventually leave her Power Rangers life behind, the next Mighty Morphin Pink Ranger to take her spot for that series, Power Rangers Zeo, and Power Rangers Turbo would be the Australian actress Catherine Sutherland. However, before that, her first attempt to enter the Ranger realm was by auditioning for the role of Dulcea in this movie, but she was ultimately rejected for being far too young for the role, despite being around 20 years old and 7 years younger than the actual Dulcea actress, Gabrielle Fitzpatrick. But anyways, a little bit after this, Ivan Ooze decides that the best way to unearth his mechs of mass destruction hidden underground would be to recruit all of the parents of Angel Grove into a mind-controlled workforce, leading Ivan Ooze to try to appeal to the youths by dressing up as the world's most sketchy wizard clown of all time that nobody would even consider giving the time of day to. But since Ivan Ooze is apparently the greatest salesman of all time, he manages to convince every child present to bring his mysterious free goo around all of their parents, causing those parents to become his free labor slaves. And yo, fun fact about Paul Freeman's performance as Ivan Ooze, because due to him not actually having a purple tongue in real life, Freeman would swish black currant juice inside of his mouth and spit it out right before every single take in order for his tongue to appear purple on camera, which is actually pretty damn clever in my opinion. But anyways, after all this, Dulcia brings the Rangers to her palace, which, like Zed's throne room, was also just wooden frames with aluminum foil wrapped around it. And after Dulcia brings out the animal spirit within each of the Rangers, she notices that Adam seems unhappy with his spirit animal being a frog. This moment wasn't initially included in the script, but was actually an improvised line by actor Johnny Young Bosch, who wasn't really the biggest fan of his character's new Zord being the lamest animal of them all. So he fought hard to have that particular line included, so everyone knew that he was fully aware of how ridiculous a frog Zord looks. And all of these Zords were of course originally from the Japanese Super Sentai series, much like the original Dino Zords were. But while all the footage of the Dinozords from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV show was sourced from the Super Sentai show called Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger or Dinosaur Squadron Beast Ranger, these new Zord animals all came from the Super Sentai show Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger, the group of rainbow ninja guardians that the Power Rangers TV show would adapt into the Alien Rangers. So all of these Zords were technically the true Zords of the original Japanese Alien Rangers, a team not modeled after aliens at all, which is hilarious. But anyways, as Kid Fred in the Air Jordan hat finds out all of the parents of Angel Grove are slaving away for Ivan Ooze at the construction site, Ivan Ooze explodes all the Tango warriors that failed to defeat the Power Rangers. But in an earlier version of the movie, Ivan Ooze would collect all of these freshly exploded feathers and use his dark magic to convert all of those feathers into one big Tengu mama called Queen Tengu, but the director and producers ultimately scrapped that idea. The Rangers then headed towards the monolith that holds the great power that they seek to get their Power Ranger suits back, and after battling the reanimated skeletons of dead dinosaurs, the team are forced to fight 4 rock gatekeepers in front of the Temple of Power. And during their initial attack, Tommy is sliced by the first gargoyle, causing his chest to bleed a little bit. But the production made sure to hide Tommy's wounds in order to keep things tame for the children, because God forbid the children know that humans bleed when they're cut open by demonic temple monsters. Everyone knows that human beings are just made out of jello. But interesting fact about these Stone Guardians, they would be reused in a far future Power Rangers season all the way in 2005, when Power Rangers SPD would have one of these Stone Guardians appear as one of the character Piggy's alien customers in episode 12 of the series. But anyways, after the Rangers get their powers back, they all travel back to Earth and confront Ivan Ooze's awkwardly shiny murder mechs and their new awkwardly shiny Zords. And while this is all going down, Fred heads down to Ernie's Waterside Cafe, which has never been seen before in the Power Rangers TV show, and no Ernie to be seen at all in this movie as well, which is a bummer because Ernie is a core cast member of the Power Rangers TV series in my opinion, though Ernie actor Richard Janelle was hanging out on set with the rest of the cast for the full duration of filming. And after Fred tells everyone of Ivan Ooze's plans for their parents, the kids just magically listen to Fred and take his lead towards the construction site. And as the Power Rangers fight Ivan and his forces in their brand new Zords, they combine those Zords together to form the Ninja Megazord without Tommy, while Tommy goes and saves Fred, Bulk, Skull, and all of their friends from becoming body parts in some tram wreckage. And when Tommy returns, he merges with the Ninja Megazord to become the Ninja Falcon Megazord, equipped with a flaming power sword that matches the Fire Saber from the Shogun Megazord from the TV series. But anyways, after the Power Rangers use Ryan's Comet to destroy Ivan Ooze once and for all, the movie of course ends with a beautiful fireworks display honoring the Power Rangers of Angel Grove who have saved the world from a goofy-ass goober of a ghoul yet again. But hilarious fact about this moment, the movie's production actually bamboozled a bunch of extras on screen to work for free. The producers had the slightly messed up idea to publish an ad in the local Sydney newspaper for what appeared to be a random fireworks show with cameos from the Power Rangers actors. So when a bunch of people showed up for the event, the producers were like, hell yeah man, now we don't have to spend a single cent of our millions of dollars on extras, hooray! Which is like, Really, guys? Like, if I had a time machine, I would travel 20 years back in time just to tell those producers to do better. Like, a Power Ranger would not deceive people for money. Well, unless you're Austin St. John, but that's a different story. But, anyways, that is it for this breakdown of the 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. Who are your guys' favorite Power Rangers of this bunch of Rangers? And what was your favorite part of the movie? Let us know in the comment section down below. But anyways, like always, you can follow me at Mastertainment on Instagram.
You already know what my favorite one was. Tommy, when he did that spin kick out of the air and hit the rock monsters into the door, and then the door opened. That was nice. Anyways, let's get out of here. Appreciate everybody for watching. We most definitely gotta do some more